Okay. From your experience, what are the benefits of integrating arts in the classroom?
Well, I'm very passionate about the subject, so you found a good person to interview. Benefits include definitely motivation. Students are very motivated when you do arts activities, and it also enhances their participation because they want to be a part of it. I think you meet the needs of learners who have strength in areas like moving and actually using their voices in drama activities. So you kind of touch on some of the different intelligence areas and offer them opportunities where they can feel success, where they might not maybe feel that success in other areas.
Okay. From your experience, what are the challenges of integrating arts in the classroom?
Well, a lot of people would say a challenge is finding time to do it, but if you integrate the arts with other subject areas, it's not really a challenge. I guess for me it would probably be just making sure that I research and find some of the best ways to integrate the arts and to make sure I consciously think about that as I plan my lessons. So I want to make sure and think about that in all my lesson planning. So if I'm doing a lesson on friendship, for instance, how could I involve music? How could I involve drama? How might I do a visual arts activity? I've done it for so many years. It's my 30th year of teaching that it's almost natural for me to just always look for those kinds of opportunities. But I think that is a challenge for other people who are just starting to integrate the arts, is to make sure to include it within your curricular area that you're already teaching.
Okay. Do you see any differences in student achievement when you integrate art education?
Well, I mentioned motivation, so students are definitely more motivated to participate. I think you meet the needs of some learners that you might not get at with your traditional kind of school activities with reading and writing, and so if you can get them up and moving, you see some talents that you might not see through other activities like that are more traditional. I think students tend to have to do more critical thinking with the arts, which is a good thing, and they have to learn to cooperate, and it employs a lot of the 21st century skills that we're looking for now, and kind of good life skills to learn, persistence, hard work, seeing a project through to the end. And when you think about an art project or a drama presentation, there's a lot of work that goes into it. So that aspect of sticking with the project and really the ability to work with others and to share ideas and to come up with to go through the process that ends up coming up with a product that you've all worked on together is very rewarding.
Do you see any changes in your students with behavioral or learning disorders when you incorporate the arts?
And those are some of the students that I was referring to earlier, that they really do, they get excited about this type of activity, and so you'll see more participation. Behavior issues sort of become mute because they're so involved in what they're doing, so there's not you don't see as much of that because they're involved in a project. If they're creating something, oftentimes they get wrapped up in that particular project, and so they're engaged, and most of the arts activities are student-centered, so they're busy doing things. They're not just sitting and listening to someone give out information, or they're not having to do just a piece of paper worksheet. They're actually involved in a project, so you'll see less behavioral problems. You'll see students that might not get engaged in school activities, like I mentioned before, all of a sudden become very passionate and want to participate, get excited, and look for ways that they can take leadership roles, which is nice.
Okay, you mentioned before that you look at your lessons and see how you can incorporate art. Do you ever base your lesson off of the art?
Oh, lots of times, and you can, once you start becoming really good at incorporating that, oftentimes it'll take you to a place where you want to look for ways to incorporate that art, and maybe that art form becomes the main focus of your lesson. For instance, we did a study on Iowa in the fall, and so we looked specifically for a way to incorporate Grant Wood, and he became kind of a focal point of our unit as an Iowa artist, and so we looked at his work in both the regular classroom and in art class, and we looked at his scenes of Iowa Farms, and it really tied in. So he became kind of the focal point, and we revolved our other unit topics around him. So you can look for ways like that where that's the main focus point. Or maybe we know we want to do a drama lesson, so we look for a good piece of literature that will support that.
Okay. How often do you find yourself integrating arts?
Oh, pretty much as often as I can. It's just so automatic for us now. I teach first and second grade. That might be helpful to know that with that age, you definitely are always integrating music. We have a morning routine that has songs and that are integrated, so every day it's part of what we do. Is it part of every lesson? Probably not. I mean, there are times when we are doing just a regular math lesson where there's, you would see an art form involved, but definitely try to integrate it as often as possible and in as many ways as I can.
Cool. From the start of your career, have you seen a push for integrating arts?
I think that it's gotten increasingly more important as we see, and the interesting thing I think is as a result of No Child Left Behind, where we had a lot of schools focusing specifically on reading and spending a lot of time on reading and math and becoming a little bit more skill-driven to try to get their test scores to be up. Now we see kind of an influx of researchers saying, hey, we really need to have students using their creativity, and we got away from that a little bit. And fortunately, I'm at a school that we didn't go as extreme as some schools went, and so we've always felt that's important here to have the students involved in using their creativity. But there's a lot of research coming out, and a lot of schools are looking for ways to increase that, and integrating the arts is a really easy way that you can still cover your curricular areas, and you can look at the core curriculum and you can cover those areas as well as integrating the arts in motivating ways. So definitely seen a need, especially lately in the research, showing that we need to have students involved in arts activities.
Do you think like budget cuts or the cutting of like music programs has influenced that push then?
I think that is a factor. Because if you are limiting those special areas in schools, students wouldn't have those experiences if classroom teachers didn't do it. So I think that's very sad when that happens, because I think there's room for both, that students should get those exposure through specialists as well as in the classroom, which is what we do here at Price Lab School. But that's probably been a factor that influenced it. I just attended an arts integration conference this last weekend, and I know there is concern because in tough economic times the arts programs are the ones that are often targeted. They're kind of considered extra, and they're working hard to show that through the arts we can meet a lot of challenges and needs that are out there, and so when you cut those programs you're going to lose a lot. And so I think to answer your question, yes, it's had an influential factor, but hopefully it's not to the point where it takes away the specialists.
Okay, well, thank you for meeting with us today.
You're welcome.
Thanks.
How do I stop it?